Trump's mass deportation agenda has actually a surprising, or maybe not so surprising, stakeholder, and that is none other than billionaire Bill Gates. So Gates owns a large portion of a key service provider for immigration flights. So here are the details. So Gates's connection to the US detention and deportation machine is a company called Signature Aviation. Signature calls itself the world's largest network of private aviation terminals, and it is a linchpin in the day-to-day machinery of Trump's immigration enforcement apparatus. Private charter carriers subcontracted for ICE to transport immigration detainees, part of a network known as ICE Air, a reference to the Department of Homeland Security's ICE Air operations, use Signature's services daily. As a fixed base operator, or FBO, Signature supplies ground crews, aviation fuel, boarding stairs, and airplane hangar space at hundreds of airports around the world, mostly in the United States. The private firm holds that holds Gates and the Gates Foundation Trust assets, Cascade Investment, increased its stake in the company to 30% in 2021, when it and two partners bought Signature outright for $4.7 billion. So at one point, Signature appears to have worked to make its branding less visibly associated with immigration flights, because I guess someone at some point said maybe this isn't the best look for us, especially because it's Bill Gates that we're talking about here, right? He is a billionaire, he's a tech billionaire, but for a long time, he tried to put forth this image that he was a more benevolent billionaire, right? He was gonna use his money and all of his power and influence for good rather than for evil. But here we see that at the end, the money always wins. So last month, a set of Signature boarding stairs in Seattle, where the county government set up cameras in 2023 to keep an eye on immigration flights, got a new accessory, 2 sheets of cardboard taped over the company's logo. So, for all those billions of dollars, that's what they get, is cardboard. So Bill Gates has been getting closer to Trump ever since he took office again in 2024. And to show it, here he is at Trump's tech meeting. He's sitting right there next to the First Lady, Melania Trump. So yeah, Jackson, I think I said it earlier, at the end of the day, money always wins out. And Bill Gates, for all of his posturing as being this more left-leaning billionaire who wanted to do things like save the planet and help the people and whatever it was that he was pretending to do, we know that instead he's been buying up a lot of farmland and doing a lot of really questionable things with very questionable motives. And now here we see that he has a very direct stake, a financial stake in a lot of the immigration stuff that's going on, that's terrorizing so many millions of Americans. Because even if you're not an illegal immigrant here in this country, a regular, everyday, legal citizen Americans are scared because all these things are coming in their cities. And also there is no due process anymore, because if you just kind of look kind of brown, they just throw you into the back of a truck. And maybe you're illegal, it doesn't really matter because you're still gonna go to the detention camp. And Bill Gates is profiting off of all of this. So what do you have to say about Bill Gates?
So, I think that the reality is that this has a much more practical answer, and there's really not that much to go in depth as to why he would do something like this. And the answer is because he has too much money. Bill Gates, he doesn't have a couple $billion. Bill Gates, I just looked it up. His net worth is $107 billion. And so, like, if you have that kind of wealth, it just kind of seems very likely that you're putting it anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order for you to accumulate that much, like, yeah, he's Microsoft, and they've incorporated that software and that technology into all worldwide for decades. But still, if you have that type of capital and you're constantly investing in things, it seems pretty reasonable that, oh, would you look at that? This person's investing in his portfolio in like blood diamonds in Africa or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not that surprising to me that someone who's worth this much money, in fact, is investing in opportunities that are morally questionable at best.
Yeah. And, it's also interesting because he was implicated in the Epstein files as well. So,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
let's not forget about that. That is what's cited as one of the main reasons why his wife, Melinda Gates, took his money and ran. And they're divorced now. She's running her own foundations and presumably doing, better things with her money. Same can be said for Jeff Bezos's now ex-wife. But we have all these stories. They're all kind of like overlapping over each other, aren't they today? And we have the Epstein stuff, we have the immigration stuff, we have billionaires, and they're all profiting off of this system that is really, really devastating to so many millions of Americans. Not just that, but it's also devastating to the moral fiber and also the structure. The structural fiber of this country, right? Democracy is being called into question. Our civil rights are being called into question. Our constitution is being called into question. And Republicans are just blatantly questioning the Constitution at this point. They had people, I believe Amy Coney Barrett, she was asked to weigh in on whether or not Trump could run for a third presidential term, something that is outright, explicitly stated cannot happen in the Constitution. But these are questions that they're just trying to like get the American people used to. And they're just trying to say, maybe this is an okay thing. So I'll give you the final thought and then we'll head to our next break.
Hopefully, I think that there's only so much not capitalist this country will ever be. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that. I think we got to be pretty realistic in terms of the foundation, but hopefully going forward, we can stop seeing so much benevolence in people just because they're really wealthy, just because they have a lot of power and control over different sectors of the market, and ultimately just because they corrupt the system. That these people don't have any more value. They don't have, other than finance and maybe getting access to information first about business, they don't have any more insight than anybody else does. So hopefully that part of our culture can change so that we can just value everyday people a bit more, trust one another a little bit more, so that we can actually be more of a community and walk away a little bit from our sense of individualism, because none of us exist on an island.
If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?